Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to today's lecture, which is all about, modern fiction. This lecture is intended for fourth-year students. My name is Dr. Tأثير, and I'd like to welcome you to the second novel that we are reading in this course, which is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. We know all very well how much it means to be an artist and what is meant for the especially for the modern authors and the very much those British novelists with all the idea of modernism and how far we can get to modernism. I mean, what is the definition that we can come out with the idea of with that kind of understanding of the life, understanding of so many diversity, cultural conceptions of life. So when we come to, for example, a very simple and basic meaning in our life, that is a tree. When we come to modernism, it's no more that green and brown, colors. It can be any other color. It can be pink, and it can be any other color. So it's the idea that no traditional stuff to be established. It is the time to re-establish stuff in order to get to the to whatever we can imagine. So when we say modernity, I always tell my students it is something that is shockingly new. I mean, it is something new, not from any of our traditional methods of conceiving the world and the universe. And at the same time, it is very shocking. And this is very much has been presented by the by our authors, British authors and American authors with the 20th century. A kind of some traditional ideas from the Victorian times has been like a kind of emerging into some new forms of the way of understanding and narration, narrative and narration has come to be one of these basic steps in our modern world. So, for example, here with the portrait of the artist for James Joyce, we don't have that kind of traditional narration anymore. We have a new stream of consciousness fiction. The narrator is not the same narrator that we used to have with the Victorian times and many of the classical texts. So, what is this? I mean, what about Joyce? What Joyce is trying to say in his A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man? Actually, it is the language. I mean, it's so many other stuff, but it is the language. When we come from the when we come to the language of A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, it's a new one. It is a language of humanity. I mean, we are talking about an Irish novelist, and that Irish novelist is trying to reach to humanity, and that's why we have music. Music is part is a very important and remarkable part of the novel, with so many songs, with so many, with the rhythm, the language that is used in a very witty manner. We are talking about, an Irish writer who is showing his performance in the English language. And he's using it in a very remarkable way. The protagonist of the novel is Stephen Dedalus. He's just a boy growing up in Ireland. From that, these are uh, this kind of the book cover showing that it's all about the city. It's all about geography. It's all that he is growing up in Ireland and what is happening in this country at the end of the 19th century when we are facing that modernity and the new ideas. So it's a kind of gradual social and religious development with his own conception of the world around him. When we say Ireland, we say Catholic culture, Catholic faith. So Stephen's Catholic faith and Irish nationality, they heavily influence him and influence him to be what? To be a human being, to be an artist. So what we have here, we have, that kind of strict religious boarding school, which he spent and he suffered a lot for so many years. It changed him. It influenced him. Being a boy with other boys, also we have the idea of bullying here. And that idea of bullying with modernity is not a kind of personal stuff. It can be also has a kind of social recognition about it. So there is that kind of tension between education, between friendship, and also with the domestic atmosphere. He's always there, lonely, even in his at home. Even at home, there is always some political tensions. Even at the Christmas dinner party. I mean, when we talk about Christmas, we talk about beautiful stuff, something cheerful, especially for children. But we have a kind of political a problem and a dispute over that Christmas party, over one of the political figures in Ireland. Some people with him, some people against him. So the idea of politics also are coming here. This is an idea of the nationality. This is the idea of how can be an Irish and can be a human and can address people with the English language, but he is presenting these Irish problems, and at the same time he is getting out to the whole universe. When he was a child, he got the map, and with his pen he put you know he put his pen on the country. I mean on and then on the school. This is my school, and this is home, on home. So it's home, it's the school, it's the society, it's Ireland, it's the city, and then it's the country, and then the world. With the end of the novel, he is having one, while he's grown up person and artist, he tries to leave Ireland because he wants to reach to humanity. But definitely, you can never leave your own country or country in your heart and in your mind. So he's carrying Ireland wherever he goes. What other novelist, as an Irish writer, he will be writing about Ireland. There is also the idea of guilt and shame, and the idea of extremism. It's about being Catholic, extremist Catholic. At the same time, it is being at the same time it is also from the that kind of society with its so many boundaries. So the style of narration, because it's all about, how to have a voice, the voice of the artist. And the voice of the artist in this novel is coming into what we call stream of consciousness technique. So that stream of consciousness technique is bringing all the ideas, like stream of ideas, of thoughts, of feelings, all coming into those characters, and definitely to the reader himself. We as readers, we are inside the character. We don't need the character to tell us. We are inside his thinking and his feeling. Another word should be used when we talk about the style of a portrait of the artist is the epiphany. And this reveals a moment of realization, a kind of sudden, profound realization that connects the character to an external object or voice within him and outside him. This creates a kind of change for his or her perception of the world. Joyce, our writer, James Joyce, he is using this style. He's using this epiphany notably in many of his novels, like the Dublin Years, like Ulysses, and definitely here a portrait of the artist as a young man. Kind of spiritual revelation getting throughout those papers and pages of the novels. When we come to the Daedalus and the myth of Daedalus, a kind of parallel and structure of the novel is giving the name. So we have somebody who is having the name of a mythical creature, and Daedalus managed to two big wings, to have two big wings attached to them in his shoulder with wax. And he taught the art of flying like birds to acroles. So it's the idea of running away, and it's the idea of flying, it's the idea of, you know, it's the idea like uh, he told him not to get far away because the wax will be melted by the sun. And despite that, Icarus started flying, and then when he had gone very close to the sun, the wax melted, and he has to embrace his death. So the idea of how far are we? I mean, we can use our freedom, and this is one of the important, ideas here. I mean, that tension, that not only geographical but also spiritual element. We are free by choice. We are free by destiny. How come? How this has been translated in the plot of the novel. Most of the work of the artist is, we have the narration of a third person, and because we are going to have a view, the point of view of Stephen, he is criticizing himself, and he is showing us a kind of the person and the language perspective of a kind of a development within the narration about himself. Somebody is providing a narration about the story, and that somebody is not one of the characters in the novel. We see everything in the manner in which he thinks and he feels. We, the readers, without a narrator, we can see this. At the very end of the novel, there is a kind of, that section in which the story is told through Stephen's diary entries. But this section is the first person, while the whole novel is about a third person, somebody who is witnessing the whole thing. The opening sentence is very important here. It's one of the most memorable opening phrases and extracts in English novel. It reads, "Once upon a time, and very good time it was, there was a moker coming down along the road with the moker that was coming down along the road met Nancy's little boy named Baby Talker." What is this? Once upon a time is one of the important phrases for traditional storyteller. So we are having here a story that has been like forever. And this story is the story of the artist who's trying to find his voice. It's a story of belonging to a nation, a story of how to defy another conquering nation. So setting the narration with this traditional phrase, it means we are telling a story forever. It's like, and it is a story. The most important about the storyline, the storytelling, the narration, how we tell the story. And also look at the words moko, toko. These are not traditional ways of using the language. So this is also a very untraditional storytelling with so many, tricks about the language, so many about the rhythm and the music of the language. So Stephen is forced to withdraw from his boarding school and comes to, because of his family's poverty, and the family will be moving to another cities, Black Rock, for example. And then we are going to have the father figure comes in different ways. For example, Uncle Charles goes with imaginary adventures with boys, with his smoking, smoking the pipe like any traditional Irishman. We are going to talk about the neighborhood here. So it's not only Dublin, but it is the movement itself. It is the geographical location of the story. And with financial difficulties, it's also the economy that is coming here. Another thing about meeting a girl, and that girl is very idealistic. We know nothing about her apart from her name. It's the idea of love, not only love, but the idea of love, the object of adoration. And then we are going to have, for example, a kind of sexual relationships with the prostitutes while he is coming, I mean, he's growing up towards maturity, he is going to the extreme from that Catholic boy to the extreme to that sinner boy who is sleeping with prostitutes. So we are going to have a kind of different way of the sensuality of life. His father, with a bit of charm, manages to have him into private school, but then he goes to another school. But and whenever we are moving actually with geography. But what matters, it's the same person. It's that development that is happening with Stephen all the time. I mean, look at these. He can't see himself. He see. Look at the mirror. He can see the back of himself, and look at the first one. All that, and there is money on the table. So it's all about the identity within that difficulty of the Irish people that are undergoing with economy, with all this stuff. And also the other one, like he's coming from those storytelling, he's something forever have been there. That struggle is a human struggle. That struggle is a universal struggle. Look at he's a very sad person, that kind of loneliness, that kind of being the outsider with your own, even at your own home. These ideas of modernity that have been carried here, all of the absurdity of life, that loneliness, all these coming to shape our 20th century modern world. And definitely they have their ways becoming here in this novel. So Stephen is forced to get out of Dublin and to get out of his, the circle of his own friends, to get out of the circle of his domestic life. One day, walking on the beach, he can see a beautiful girl. So now he can enjoy that sensuality of life. He can he looks at her body and he says, why not enjoying that beautiful sensual stuff about life? I mean, this is the only thing about living life to its fullest. And at the same time, there is another interpretation which I like very much, that when we talk about this novel, we always talk about extremism, from the Catholic extremist boy and childhood to that adulthood, with his sinning, with his gluttony, so there's always kind of extremism that has been presented throughout the novel. And seeing an ordinary girl just getting out of, having swim, this is kind of normal. So a normal way of living. This is what is missing for Stephen. So when we have him as a student of university, we have a different person. He's no more that Catholic child. Now he can read because it's important, and it is very valuable. I mean, reading is important and valuable. Knowledge is important and valuable. But in order to find, his voice as an artist, he needs to experience life. So when we come to Joyce, it's all about the city. Even we look at the city, that portrait of the artist can never be finished without that geographical city, with those ideas of nationality, with those ideas of, what about Ireland? What is happening here? How the people feel about the belongs of, about the sense of belonging. Definitely, when we talk about the pitfalls of religious extremism, it's one of the important thing, uh, because the extreme of sin repeatedly here, like sleeping with prostitutes, is deliberately put into this novel to show that idea of becoming perfect. It comes to the other side, becoming imperfect. Stephen realizes that both of these lifestyles, whether the extremist religious or and obedience, or the extremist sinner and his disobedience, both of them are not the real life. A kind of realization that he can reject both extremism, and he can reach to a decision to embrace life and celebrate humanity, with a normal, with a normal way, like the normal setting of the unseen of that girl getting out of the swim. I mean, one of the important scenes in the novel, kissing a sex worker girl, and at the same time reciting a prayer of Virgin Mary. I mean, Joyce is putting that, that powerful, hurtful, sometimes offensive scene in order to show what happens to extremist people. No more, they don't no more act like a sensible people. Music, flight, prayers, songs, Latin phrases, they all are part of the motives of the, of what is making this novel. Symbols like green and maroon, which are the colors of these are the colors of that represent Ireland, and Emma as just an idea of Stephen's young life, the most beautiful girl in Stephen's young life. They all the represent the symbols on which the novel has been set. When we talk about the leaders in that, Charles Parnell and Michael David, these are leaders, these are political leaders in the Irish sense. But in a dream after his death, after Parnell's death, Stephen sees Dante dressed in green and maroon as the Irish people mourn their fallen leader. So even symbols are coming with the symbolism here is attached to the nation and nationality. When we talk about Emma, it appears like an idea of pure love, not a real love, but an idea of pure love, unattained to sexuality and reality. So that ideal of feminine purity, and because he is devotedly religious Catholic, and he can see Emma as a kind of union in heaven. At the same time, Stephen's diary entry regarding that conversation portrays Emma as real, friendly, and ordinary girl, and certainly not the goddess that he imagined her earlier to be. So a kind of balanced view of Emma mirrors Stephen's abandonment of that extremes of complete sin and complete devotion of a middle path to the appreciation of beauty and life. When we come to the ending of this novel, that ideas of femininity they become more complex in the final sections. Emma, for example, talks to her on a street, on a craftsman streets, and he represents, he says that meeting and that conversation emphasizes the fact that women are no longer a kind of like Mother Mary or an ideals in Stephen's life, and his mother, his own mother, is no longer pushes him towards that ideology. Or on the other side, women are nothing but sensuality of life and prostitutions and all this stuff. So women are no longer a part of that superior or transcendent position in life. Women are, reality, face to face to reality. Emma comes face to face to Stephen, and women are becoming, not that idealized creatures, but they are a kind of emotional and spiritual human beings just like him. So once he is showing his once he is showing his development in his consciousness towards women, he's also showing his consciousness towards his mother nation, toward Ireland, and toward his position as an artist. With this introduction, I would love to experience with you over the coming lectures the world of James Joyce, and how he is trying to to have us readers understanding whatever he means by his world of the novel. I mean, the most important thing when we try to the most important thing about this novel is trying to experience it in such a way. understanding what the author tries to have. Thank you very much. I'd love to see you next time. See you next time. Bye, everyone.